Hey, it's Charlie from Aftermath, and you're watching CMS TV.
It is Chris Akin Presents, and I, of course, am Chris Akin. And today on the show, we are going to take it back to the real glory days. And a lot of people say the glory days, and they mean like the mid 90s. No, I'm talking early to mid 80s. There were so many bands that were just blossoming everywhere. Obviously, you certainly knew the ones that became huge, the Metallicas and Anthrax, Megadeth, etc. But there was a whole nother culture of just kind of underground speed metal bands that I personally loved and worshiped. Those of us that were tape traders and old time, music rags and whatever, we knew of all these bands. One of those bands that I knew of was this band Aftermath. Well, Aftermath is back. They have a brand new re-recording of the first song they ever recorded called Sentenced to Death. They die, you die. And here to talk all about it and what's going on with Aftermath and more is Charlie Silas. Charlie, how are you, man?
Good to be here, Chris. It's a pleasure having me on your show. And then old school rules, man.
Amen.
I mean, back then, if anybody was around back then, one thing everybody now bands kind of sound similar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to just if you go through the band list on Spotify or whatever now, I mean, there's a similarity with it. Back then, man, everybody sounded unique. It didn't matter. Like look at the early thrashing, the bigger bands from Creator to Anthrax to Megadeth to Celtic Frost. I mean, I could go on and on. Voivod. I mean, everybody had their own sound. It was just amazing back then. It was so incredible to form a band like we did, and right away we're at the beginning of a new genre. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. We started out early on as a crossover band. The crossover word wasn't around then,
right?
But we started out with a hardcore punk bass player and us metal kids creating hardcore metal and thrash. It became like a whole genre, after DRI named it, but I mean, it was just like so exciting, and
sure.
That excitement, I hope new bands could feel something like that at one point, because it was just like it was a great time to be, we're Generation X too. It was a great time to be alive.
Amen. Well, you know that, Charlie, the interesting thing about that time for me as a fan, I'm a failed musician. I was very not good at it. I tried like everybody else did that's our age. I tried, I wasn't good at it, so I went into this. But the thing about that time was there was so much new music that you could never get bored. If you were into the scene, you could never get bored. But I'm curious for you, if you've ever thought about this, do you think that Aftermath would have had a totally different future had you come out even like 2 years later after the sound had kind of stabilized a little bit and became more of a thrash than a speed metal type of a thing?
Well, the thing was, we started out as crossover,
Mm-hmm.
like hardcore punk and metal. But then after our demo came out, Killing the Future, they got known all around the underground through tape trading. I mean, it just went all over the world. We pretty much, the next demo we released, which was not even a year later, or a year and a half, we slowed it all down and it became technical, progressive thrash.
Right.
So, like, we literally went from being like da, 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 to being like, progressive and, great musicianship and everything. So we shifted genres too quick, I think. And I remember even in Chicago, like when we were doing shows, people going, man, we love the new shit, but you can't like go crazy mosh, like at a Slayer concert, right?
Right.
And then I think the only thing that was respectful about it, we didn't sell out. We just try to make thrash go in a new direction. Because at that time, I was thinking, man, wouldn't it be cool if thrash, the genre, again, it was brand new, the genre, it was like a baby. If you brought in elements of like progressive music, like Pink Floyd, trippy parts and everything like that. And later on, man, it became a whole genre. That's why our album Eyes of Tomorrow went on to become kind of like, if you're into technical progressive thrash, people think it's like a classic in that genre, and
Sure.
and then we broke up after that. We were around for 10 years, you know what I mean? And right when we released the album, we broke up, but the album was supposed to really be out in late 80s, 88, 89 on Roadrunner or Big Chief Records. But then we eventually signed the Big Chief, which was distributed through Metal Blade, Warner Brothers at the time. But while we were in the middle of recording our album, Eyes of Tomorrow, they went bankrupt, the label. So we got stuck like having to pay the rest of the money because the label gave half the money, and when the album was done, the other half, right? So we were so young, we didn't have jobs. So it took us like 4 years to pay off to get the master tapes. Wow. So they won't record over them. That's what it was going to be gone. So right when we did that, we released it on our own label. We broke up, like I said, and then the story goes on with a whole other chapter with Aftermath, with like lawsuit with the name of the band and everything,
Right.
That was a little before we broke up. Right after, we had the lawsuit also going on,
Right.
We had it as a registered. We trademarked the name, so legally, and then I don't want to get into that story, but a big famous rapper came and tried to take it with us having the trademark, and we had to go to court over that shit.
Right. I did want to ask you about that, but briefly, only because like I listen to everything, and I remember, and for people that are wondering, it's Dr. Dre we're talking about. It's the biggest rapper, or one of the biggest, right? It's not like you were battling with Little Nobody that people haven't heard of.
And you know what's funny about that? When they first called us to use the name, Pete Paterno, who's Metallica's lawyer, called at my house. And he goes, "Hey, I'm Pete Paterno." He didn't know I knew his name right away. And I'm thinking, Pete Paterno. He goes, "Yeah, we got this really small R&B label that nobody's ever going to hear of. And we want to use the name Aftermath. And we'll give you like a couple $1,000. We don't have to give you a couple thousand." He goes, "But we're just going to do it anyways." And then I go, "Wait a minute. What's your name again?" He goes, "Pete Paterno." I go, "You're Metallica's lawyer, right?" He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "You're calling about a small R&B label?" And anyways, just right off the bat, this rich company entity, Dr. Dre, multi-millions,
Sure.
They come up and try to trick the little guy when they paid money to have a trademark through the government. You know what I mean? What was the point of getting that?
Right. Well, and the interesting thing is that they wanted it so badly. I mean, what I don't understand, and maybe you don't understand this either, is while it's a cool name, and certainly they ran with it with Aftermath Entertainment. I remember getting the CD sampler with Eminem and all the stuff.
Yeah, that small label became the biggest label in the world.
Exactly. Eminem, 50 Cent, whatever, the little tiny label.
Yeah, that's real tiny.
What was it about that name for them, and what was it to you? Because you kind of weren't using it. I mean, what was it to you where you just didn't say, "Here, sure, write me a fat check and I'll cash it"?
Hey, you. Why are you watching this with commercials? Go commercial free and unlock exclusive content. Become a VIP today on Locals, Substack, or Rumble Premium. Stop waiting.
First of all, that name didn't mean that much to him because he tried to get another name first called Black Market Records, but there was another label actually called that, and he couldn't use it.
Okay.
So then I think they looked up and they go, "Hey, Aftermath," whatever reason they picked that, right? And then they probably go, "Hey, this little metal band in the Midwest in Chicago has trademark, but they'll take money." So they left it till the very end. So they had everything going. They had videos. They had everything printed. So it was right at they were going to release everything for the Christmas season in the next couple of months. Because this was in the summertime or something like that. And so it was money because if I stopped them, they'd have to miss the whole season. So they were claiming they'd lose $4 million if the judge sided with me, which was the legal thing to do. And so that's why it wasn't. I think it was just because of the time they let it go to the very end. So when they called me, Pete Paterno, they were in a boardroom with a bunch of people. I didn't know that when he called me, and they were like thinking they're going to give this guy a couple $1,000 and the problem's solved. But they didn't realize they called the guy that gives a shit about money.
Right.
You know what I mean? They literally got on the phone to over 100,000. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't take money. I didn't care, man. Money doesn't make a difference to me because I'm not the type of guy that like would want millions and have houses everywhere. The more stuff I'd have, the more stress I'd have. I just like what I got. You know what I mean? As long as I got, nothing excessive. And so anybody else might have taken that deal. Well, most people probably would have, man, because they were offering good money. You know what I mean? Well, but and for me, the name was a name we picked, all of us together, when we wanted to name the band. I used to work security. I shouldn't say this, at O'Hare Airport for this Andy Frame company. Through United, just like you go through X-rays and when you go fly, and they used to put us on the X-ray machines, and you were only supposed to be there for an hour because I guess that was the law. But they leave us on there for 2-3 hours, just watching, X-ray bags. United would come by with a fake gun in there to test if you were paying attention.
Sure.
But I was just writing band names one time, and I ended up writing 40 or at least 40 band names that I was thinking for the band. So I brought it to rehearsal, this piece of paper, and nobody liked any of the other ones. They go, Aftermath's the only good one on here.
Right.
So we decided to name the band that. And back then, Aftermath, believe it or not, anybody out there that is young or doesn't realize, that name wasn't used like it is now. Now they use it, the aftermath of his taking a piss, the aftermath of everything. Aftermath, it was so unknown to people that we had that running joke for years. Aftermath, what's English? Get it? The aftermath class? Man, I heard that joke so many times, man. It was like, yeah, I heard that a million times. And it was just a name that wasn't that known in the common vocabulary of people. Like Gaslight was another name like that. Because on the comeback album, we had a song called Gaslight in 2019. And then around 29, after our album came out after a while, I started seeing Gaslight everywhere. And I somehow, if you go Google it or whatever, it'll tell you when the word became popular. And I go, wow, that's another thing that wasn't known to everybody, but they're basic words though. You know what I mean? Right now, if I started the band again, I'd create a name like, I was in a band after Aftermath broke up called Stripping the Pistol.
Okay.
Like something like that, or Mother God Movie Star. We were in that's a whole other part of Aftermath history. But again, that's what the story about the name is, man. He just wanted the money,
Absolutely, man. Just one last thing, and this will be short, and then we'll get into the actual record that we're here to talk about. But at that time, Dr. Dre was not only big, but that was a dangerous time. And he was right in the middle of that. Did you worry about that when you turned it down?
That's funny you said that, because that was in the middle of the West Coast killings. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. And I've done other interviews. And we even this YouTube channel, True Rock and Roll Stories, did a whole thing recently on that, which was surprising, right? And people said it back then, but no, for some reason I wasn't not at all, man, because I figured if they're going to come after me, like, I'll run.
Right. Fair.
I'll hide. Because I'm in Chicago. I mean, they don't know the area. I mean, it wasn't, maybe if we were in LA, right in the middle of it, but I even forgot about that. Yeah, because people even back then were telling us, man, you're so great. Aren't you worried that they're going to come and shoot you?
Right. Well, and I mean, I'm remembering that time. I remember when the sampler came out from Aftermath Entertainment. I was working for a magazine at the time. And the reason Dr. Dre left was because of all the death row nonsense and the shootings and everything. So, I mean, you were right in the middle of this thing and you didn't even know it. That's really crazy.
And the funny thing is, he was communicating through Pete Paterno and stuff. Like, and he would always go, man, when I was turning down stuff, he kept going, what's wrong with those rock and roll boys? He was calling always rock and roll boys. And then, and I remember when we finally decided to totally, when the lawsuit came on and everything, I remember the head of Interscope, Jimmy Iovine, that guy's like the king of, I mean, Dre, he answered to him. He's the one that gave him $20 million to start Aftermath.
Right.
That's how much he got. He goes, man, what's wrong with you guys? How could you guys turn down money? And how could you guys even care about that name? He goes, Mick Jagger doesn't care if there's a Rolling Stones magazine, But I go, I don't care what he cares. I go, I don't want to have a name that's known for something else.
Right.
More than, I mean, what's the point then? You know what I mean? I go, And then he goes, he thought that was weird. And he brought up Rolling Stones and Rolling Stone magazine. I go, first of all, the Stones I don't even know why that happened, but I mean, they probably thought it was an honor. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't like if I was the Stones if anybody else used that name either,
Yeah. Well, and the Rolling Stones probably had $500 million already in the bank. It wasn't like it was going to take
they were already
their soul,
Yeah.
know.
Mick Jagger was already famous for years.
Yeah.
And we were just laughing. Coincidentally, somebody mentioned Mick Jagger the other day, and there was a picture of him in some New Orleans bar sitting outside by himself. And we're going, is that him? Is that a fake photo? And then I go, man, maybe he wants to feel like what it feels like to be a regular person, because that dude's been famous for 50 years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He doesn't even know. I mean, if he lived like a typical, we think a rock star would live, he probably hasn't even been to a grocery store in 50 years.
Sure. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. So that photo, I go, maybe it's him wanting to feel what humanity's like.
Sure, no question, man. Well, dude, let's stop talking rappers and start talking rockers. Let's talk about you guys. You obviously came back, you re-recorded Sentenced to Death, you added some real depth to it. If you added nothing else to it, the depth of the sound is it's an amazing upgrade, man. And I'm curious for you. I know I read all the press and it says that you were never happy with it before, and that's why you did this now. What weren't you happy with, and what made this so important for you to get right now?
Well, no, I didn't want to do it because I felt like, actually, everybody else wanted to do it because it was never recorded properly. And everybody thought throughout the inner band, people that would know us, that are fans of the band, that are here in Chicago or whatever, would always go, man, why don't you guys record Sentenced to Death? Because, since we came back in 2019, we released our second album, There Is Something Wrong. In 2021, we released, that's the cover right there. We released No Time to Waste, that album, So we could have easily recorded for that. Some people go, man, you should have put Sentenced to Death, because, again, it was only on a demo that was recorded only for us, because we never been in the studio. So think about it. We're practicing in our drummer's basement for a year, 6 months to a year, and then we're playing the songs. But I'm singing through a little guitar amp, and I can't barely hear myself, and I don't even know, So we go, let's go to the studio and we record some songs. And then, because you never know, what if you go to the studio and then I finally hear the vocals and I'm like, oh my God, we're terrible. Because you can't tell in the basement. But in the studio, you hear your voice. That's the first time I ever heard my voice recorded, besides speaking voice, on a little tape recorder, and it was live. All the music was on one track. The vocals are one, so you couldn't even mix it. So again, it didn't, everybody thought it deserved like the proper recording, and again, nobody really heard it besides the underground tape traders. And we only printed like maybe 25, I think 25, 50, probably 20, I think maybe 50, because I think you couldn't print, you had to print 50 or 100.
Right.
So I think we never even sent out the rest. I found like 30 of them in my crawl space, because we didn't want to send them out. We didn't think that was just for us, so we could hear what we sound like. And then somehow it got out, that tape. We must have gave it to somebody in Chicago, probably got it up front. And like we said, tape traders. Next thing you know, one day out of nowhere, I get mail from a magazine that was in the stores, metal, one of those mainstream metal magazines.
Like Metal Hammer or whatever? Yeah.
Well, it was an American magazine, but they had a scene thing in the middle, like, guys wrote scene reports, and they wrote a funny little thing about Sentenced to Death and blah, blah, blah. And, something funny, comical, because I didn't understand. I was a kid and they were adults, back then. We were, the humor of Cream magazine, you didn't get it,
sure.
And we started getting mail from that. We go, man, how the hell did it even get out? So that's the only way it got out to tape traders. So we didn't put it out there at all, And then the next demo, the real demo, Killing the Future, that was the first shrink wrap demo in the underground.
Right.
Because we were like trying to up the look of the demo. There was another band, Chicago had a lot of bands then, underground bands, and everybody was trying to do something cooler every time you release something. And we did the shrink wrapping, and then released that Killing Future demo, and that just exploded, man. It got reviews in all the big ones. Like Metal Forces was it was the British magazine that every underground person loved, you know.
Sure.
And the Demolition section, and we sent it for review, and then not only did it get reviewed, they called us here from England. I thought it was a prank call, and they were picking 5 of the best upcoming thrash bands of the world, and they picked us as one of them, and they put out a compilation called "Scream Your Brains Out," and that's actually over there, a vinyl, you know, right. And then that just took off everywhere, like I said. And Kerrang! Magazine wrote a review that said, "What's up with these kids today?" Underneath our photo, it said, "Too damn fast." And man, right when they wrote it, then it really went up. Because come on, too damn fast at that time.
Yeah,
we wanted to be the fastest band in the world,
right?
Because that demo was I loved the first Metallica album because of Whiplash and
This episode of the CMS Network is brought to you by our sponsor, Blackout Coffee. If you are a coffee lover, you will love when they are selling over at Blackout Coffee. Make sure you get yourself some. The only thing woke about this company is the drinker of the coffee, because it gives you quite a jolt. I am a personal fan of the Brutal Awakening Dark Roast, but everybody's a little bit different. Make sure you get what is your favorite today. Go to blackoutcoffee.com. Use the promo code CHRIA20 to save 20% on your first order. It's that simple. So one more time, blackoutcoffee.com. That is the link, or use the full link if you're going to shop around, that is scrolling on the bottom, and get yourself some of the best coffee that is out there today. blackoutcoffee.com.
Hit the lights,
and stuff, right? Yeah.
But I go, the rest of the songs, it's not all thrash. It wasn't all whiplashes. It wasn't fully developed thrash yet. So I go, man, that'd be cool if I form a band and every song's like Whiplash.
Right.
So that's what Killing the Future is, you know? And then that's the story of the Sentence to Death. It needed to be recorded. That's why, because everybody thought that. And then I got convinced, because I just don't want, I thought we got a brand new album right now, ready to go. Right. We just got recorded 11 new songs. So I'm thinking, I got to go in the studio right now and sing Sentence to Death, the first song I ever sang. I go, man, look at these new songs. And then everybody goes, man. And then I understood. I go, yeah, they're right. You know, maybe it needs a good recording. We're going to add it as a 12th song on the new album.
Very cool. When are you expecting the new album to, find its way into our grubby little hands?
Man, it's finished. We've been recording this throughout the year because, you know how time is when, time. So we've been going to the studio, but everything's done. But right now, our guitar player wants to go change a couple solos. Not change. Okay. And there's one song that we changed the chorus a little bit. So we want to go do a redo of a vocal chorus and the guitar part. The drums are the same beat, but it's basically done. All it needs to do is that, and then it gets mastered, and sure. I love it, man. I mean, honestly, the first album we came back, There Is Something Wrong, was more of a statement. It was a concept album about this, kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with Animals by Pink Floyd.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I realized that's a concept album about basically what our album's about. The government, how it controls people, how false flags work, just a whole, they call it conspiracy, but there's nothing that wasn't spoken that already hasn't been known as facts. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But that whole album was about that, because it was during the COVID time. And I looked into stuff and I researched stuff, and I know what's kind of going on, with about that type of the world, the conspiracy side of the world. So that album was more important to get out as a statement of what we thought was happening in the world once we came back.
Right.
And then the next album, No Time to Waste, that one, it's just full on, man. It starts out, it's just full of energy. I love it, And then I love this one, and I don't want to sound like a generic musician. I love our new album, you got to check it out. But man, I feel like if I didn't love it, and I'm sitting here talking to you, and I'm telling you we got a new album coming out, you got to check it out. And inside I'm thinking, yeah, it's pretty good, man. Whatever. Right. I'd have to be insane. Why would I even want the world to hear it if I don't love it? Right. And I even tested that, like during COVID, or when we took a break for that shit, I had the whole album, the first, basically I tested it with all of them. Like I'd give it a break. I got from the rehearsal, I got them all sequenced, and when the songs are all done, and then I don't listen for a while, and then I'll take a ride. And if I don't get into it, then I'll come back. I even told the band this. I go, what? I go, then we're gonna start over. We're not gonna put it out, or we break up. Because and nowadays everybody's got their phone. So anytime I mention the band, like it could be a mom, an old lady, it could be anybody. They go, oh, you're in a band? What's your man? Oh, and then right away they can pull it up and listen to it right away. So it's even worse if it's not good. Everybody can hear it now,
right?
even grandmothers. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So my point is, man, I'm telling you, Chris, man, I don't. This new album is just amazing. I love it, and it reminds me kind of like more like how Van Halen's Woman and Children First was, like it was badass heavy rock, like Romeo Delight,
right? Or
Everybody Wants Some, or just I don't know. That album to me, that's the first album that I loved as after my Kiss phase.
Sure,
that got me out of my Kiss phase, and I became a Van Halen fan. And I feel like, and people said it in the studio, the engineers were, it's got that kind of feel to it, and it's kind of weird to say coming from us, but we'll see when it comes out. You'll hear it.
I can't wait, man. Well, dude, obviously, man, for now, I'll have to settle for Sentenced to Death as the only thing that I'll hear new for a little while. We always try to tell everybody here that it's fine if you stream it on whatever platform, but if there's something to buy it, to support the bands, whether it's buying an album, an MP3, a hat, a shirt, whatever it would be. Where would we send people to go to buy something from Aftermath?
Yeah, go to our website.
Okay.
But the funny thing you said, for people out there, imagine if you don't own any music and it's all online, right? That's where your collection is, and everything goes down. You don't have it anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you need I think, I don't know, I hear CDs are kind of having a little bit of a resurgence or whatever. That's what they tell me. But man, if you're a music fan, you got to have physical product, man. You know what I mean? In this room right here, and I've said it to other people, you can't tell, but there's 5,000 CDs.
Sure.
And unfortunately, man, I got to admit, I'm using Spotify a lot to listen when I'm driving, but I love listening to music in my car, and it's kind of hard. Well, first of all, they don't come with CD players, so I'd have to install one of new cars, So that's, I didn't know that until when I got the car. I go, man, what the hell? I got thousands of CDs. There's no CD player. But yeah, so if you're a fan, I think, and plus supporting the bands,
right,
having a CD, and they're not expensive. It's like when we sell CDs, we don't sell them over $10. You know what I mean? And we mail them out, so we kind of like lose money when we sell CDs.
Right on.
But yeah, and I don't know if this is going to be out. This is going to be out of the album. I don't think it's going to be out as a single. You know what I mean? Physically.
Absolutely.
So this one they kind of have to get online, like I was just saying not to.
Sure. Well, you should get online if that's the way you got to hear it, because this is fantastic. It's Sentenced to Death. It is the band Aftermath. They are, of course, back. There's a new album coming. I'm sure we will have Charlie on again when the album comes out to talk about it. But this has been fun, Charlie. Thanks for joining me.
Man, you're an old school guy, man. I mean, I love that. I mean, when you say tape trading and stuff like that, it gives me goosebumps because, I mean, think about it. Everybody out there, if it wasn't for tape trading, Metallica wouldn't be known. That's what they literally got known from tape trading. And to kids now, think about for us, man, riding across the world to get music on cassettes that took forever to come back. And you had to go to the post office a lot of times because there were packages, and that took effort. Nowadays, imagine being a kid. You're just sitting there, you could hear everything in the world with a press of a button.
And that's why they don't appreciate any of it, because they don't have any skin in the game. I remember when I was a kid, and, I used to do the same thing we all did. You go to the very back of whatever magazine it was, Hit Parade or Circus, it didn't matter. And there was always those pages of, hey, send here for, and it wouldn't even say the names of the band. It would be like aggressive thrash band or metal that sort of sounds like, and they would list like Motorhead or something. And and you would just blindly send, they'd say, send an envelope with like $10 on it or something, and we'll send it back. And man, when you would get those tapes, I'm not trying to tell anybody to relive their past when you listen to music, because obviously music is universal. But man, in the past, I can remember getting those tapes and throwing them in a boom box and just sitting on my picnic table in the backyard for hours. Just play it forward, flip it over, play it the other side, flip it over. And just for hours, we would enjoy it. And we had so much passion because we put so much energy into getting it.
Your daily metal fix is on Rumble. Watch the classic Metal Show episodes free or go commercial free with a premium subscription. Find your classic metal show now at rumble.com/c/CMS, rumble.com/c/CMS.
Well, we were tape trading, man. That's passion 100 degree, because man, we were getting tapes that wasn't even known to the public. Like when I got Kill 'Em, the first No Life to Leather demo, or like Megadeth's demo, those were coming around to me because I was in the underground. So it was funny that a few years later, the people that were making fun of it all became fans of that stuff.
Sure.
Like people in the beginning weren't looking at Metallica and going, "This is great." I remember the 2-year older kids than us were going, "You guys listen to that noise? That's just a fad." Priest, Maiden, and Sabbath is where it's at. And I love Priest, Maiden, and Sabbath. I love them. But back then, to them, they go, "What are you listening to, man?" I'll never forget that. Outside of a liquor store, I was walking by. He goes, "Man, you're playing in a band with the thrash stuff? That's just a fad, man." And he goes, and then he was walking away. He goes, "Priest, Maiden, Sabbath forever." And then 2 years later, that guy, I don't want to name him, but because he's deceased now and whatever, he joined and started a thrash band and was thought of as one. I mean, in the beginning, how they come around, and that made it exciting because we were kind of like, "Hey, we knew it from the beginning, man. These bands were great."
Man, last thing, and then we'll wrap it up. But I just remember as a kid, as a young kid, like 7th, 8th grader, I wasn't listening to metal at all. I was listening to Corey Hart and the Romantics and John Mellencamp and, whatever. I was listening to what the girls wanted to hear because I was trying to get laid. That's what you were doing. But I just remember my dad was always okay with like AC/DC or Motley Crue when that started to come up or whatever. But I remember when I brought home, it was Ride the Lightning was the first Metallica record I had. And I remember playing that, and I can remember my dad storming into my room going, "What the hell are you listening to?" No one got it. And then, from that, we all built the same way. You bought that, you got Megadeth, you bought Slayer, Raven.
Yeah, because Kill 'Em All, I remember when I played it for friends in the beginning when I got the vinyl, I didn't play them the demo. You know what I mean? When I got the actual vinyl, people go, "Man, those vocals, man, what is that? They didn't get it. It wasn't professional sounding to them. It didn't sound like Iron Maiden, Bruce Dickinson, or anything like that,
Right.
And and then when it's funny because that band, man, at that point when that first thing came out, who would have thought they'd be the biggest metal band in the world, man?
No one.
I mean, yeah, it's so funny because it went from what is this to the biggest. That's the biggest. That's just mind blowing,
It is. It's crazy.
But I got into music as a Kiss. So during the late 70s, we're talking about what girls like. All the girls like disco and stuff. And what an idiot! I was bailing that. Disco sucks. I had the shirts and everything. And right after Kiss, it was Van Halen. Then it was Iron Maiden and all that stuff. Like when Number of the Beast came out.
Sure.
Oh my God, I wore that tape out. You know what I mean?
Good times, man. Good times. But
well,
one more time for everybody that is listening. Aftermath, Sentenced to Death. It is out there now. New album coming out. Is it coming out in 2026, Charlie?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So lots to look forward to. The band is Aftermath. And Charlie, this has been great, man. Thanks for joining me here on Chris Akin Presents.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to get a Facebook page, the band page, that's the best place to get if they want to write anything or anything like that.